but okay, I'll hit my bathtub again.
I know now that they're creeping some of the, openings around here. Everybody's like pushing for what they're desperate for, looking to break in. It doesn't sound like swimming pools are opening here yet in Oregon. So I've heard rumor that in some places the fitness clubs can open, but they're dry areas and limited things, but not wet areas.
Yeah.
So, of course, I think people are going to inevitably humans will test all of the loopholes and anything that we do. So it's going to be trial and error.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, they're opening state parks around our state, but at the same time, those local communities don't want people traveling from, one city to the next to come and do those things. So very interesting. Yeah. So what's happening for others? How have you been liberating yourself, if not in body, in your mind? What have you been doing to keep yourself sane in these last couple weeks?
Bicycling for me.
Bicycling, all right. Rain or shine?
Pretty much shine, but I'll do rain if I have to.
Have you noticed changes in either the traffic amounts out on the roads or
behavior? Well, when I go over freeways, they look remarkably busy, but in residential areas, it's definitely a lot quieter.
Okay. Yeah. Emre, have you snuck out to go swimming in the sea?
No, unfortunately not. I wish I could, but there was a $500 fine.
Oh, even if you went swimming outside of your hotel, you couldn't even.
I mean, if I don't get caught, it's okay. But I have been caught at weird places.
Yeah. See, the Coast Guard, the Coast Guard in Turkey has lots of practice searching for illegal people on the water, so the Turkish swimmers have no chance.
Exactly. Oops, I lost you. But I mean, the beaches are supposed to open up on June 1st.
Okay.
Wow.
That's good. It would be absolutely miserable in Turkey if you could not escape to the beach during the summertime.
Yep.
Claudia, how's it going in Italy? Oh, let me open it.
My last swim was March the 1st, and then I hope I will be swimming again, not this Monday, the Monday after this Monday. I think that swimming pool should be open once again, and but we have to book the entrance.
Okay.
We also have the seaside, the sea, but the water is still cold, 15 degrees centigrades. And so I think I wait a bit.
You could do it. You could do it. You could get in love with 15-degree water.
No, last year I went to Canary and I swam, and the water temperature was 21 or 20. Very, very cold, but nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Yes, but 15, I think it's too low for me. So I wait for swim in the seaside, swim the sea. Okay.
But you live, fortunately, you live on a house on a hillside in the middle of a big field and forest.
I walked a lot, yes. And I also tried to run a bit, even if it was forbidden, but there is none. So it was just me and one or two people I met through the hills. And so I was lucky. I'm lucky for this. But now in Italy we have phase 2, and the beaches are open. We can walk, not in all Italy, But in the Marche regions where Pesaro is, we can go for a walk on the seaside, and that's all. It's fine.
Yes.
The situation is really better than some weeks ago.
Well, the Italians our impression is it's very good at savoring food and savoring life. So now savoring a walk on the beach, right, you can just add
Yes.
to the Italian,
Yeah.
character. Savor these simple things.
Yeah.
How about others? Holger, how have you been doing? Zerk, you've been swimming, haven't you, in the lake?
The right button. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, because I first tried on my my laptop. I was basically swimming since I'm back from South Africa. Only short times because the water was still at 7 degrees. And it's now at 15. But I had to pause for 2 weeks actually, or now for 1 week, because I had a lot of rhinitis, sniff and sneeze, because there's something I'm allergic to in the water. And I also got quite some coughing and so on. So I went to doctors, and they found out again that I'm the fittest of them all, and everything is fine. It's just something else.
Yeah.
Tomorrow's the day. So tomorrow I will take my medicine and jump into the lake.
Ooh, all right.
So it's okay.
Wow. Unal, have you been able to get out, or have they even restricted people going outside in Istanbul, walking in the streets?
Well, today, starting from today, for 4 days, you're not allowed to go out.
Okay.
For the past 4 weeks, I think we are not allowed to go out for the weekends. But on Sunday, the people who are older than 65, second time, they will be allowed to go out for a period of time, maybe 3 hours, because since the lockdown, they weren't. But on yesterday, where I live was packed with people.
Oh.
I couldn't believe it was like I live in a very crowded area, very close to Fikret in Beşiktaş. So I couldn't believe my eyes. Like, I don't know what will happen.
Yeah, that's been an interesting thing they've done in Turkey, where they've done this, what we might say, pulsing. For a period of like the weekends, for 3 or 4 days, right? They restrict everything, and then they kind of open it up for a few days, and then they close it down. And I've been trying to think through that, thinking, well, there seems like some pros, but it seems like then it would encourage more concentration of activity on those open days, because everybody's trying to do their necessary shopping and going around on those open days. So I'm not sure. That's an interesting experiment that will interesting to see how that's worked.
Some people work still, and I think the argument, they close the parks, right? The seaside as well. But this week on Monday, they opened these malls to the public, not the cafes and the restaurants in the malls. But the argument behind the weekend lockdown, shall we say, is that because people work, and some people at the weekends they get together. So to break this socializing thing, they say they impose the weekend restrictions.
Okay.
Weekdays, as I said, well, they can't do anything anyway.
Yeah. Well, in our country, we have 50 states and 50 experiments going on. So, and then our federal government's jumping in randomly, trying to doing. I don't know what they're doing.
Nobody knows what they're doing.
Oh my goodness! I was actually laying awake last night, wondering what I would do if I was the president of our country. So, I would never get elected. I'm unelectable, I'm sure. But oh, what a mess! What a mess. Anyways, well, on to the topic of our well-being and different things. I wanted to just bring up I talked about breathing last time we were together, and was going through a presentation on that. And I just wanted to leave it open here for a moment. If there were any observations, questions, things that you've been doing in your own breathing work that you would like to share with us, or we can talk about something that maybe wasn't covered previously on there. The basic thesis of that presentation was that we need to work and have good breathing technique for our daily life, just general. We're always breathing, and most of our life should be very peaceful, and we should have a certain breathing pattern that corresponds to that. It gives us the best chance of being replenished and repairing and waste products removed. And if that good breathing is happening as normal part of life, it's much more likely that we'll have good breathing technique available to us when we actually do our athletic exercise. But if we don't have good breathing technique in our normal daily life, it is very unlikely that it's magically going to appear when you start doing athletic activity. So really, normal breathing, good technique for normal daily life is a prerequisite for having a good athletic experience with breathing. So that's the thesis that I was presenting. And we talked a little bit about examining breathing and then breathing technique, and didn't really go into swimming itself. But we could go there if anybody had thoughts, or share stories of how you have experienced breathing working or not working for you. No thoughts? Oh, Unal, you're muted. I can see your mouth. There you go.
Well, I realized that I haven't been chest breathing, but I haven't been, how do you say, whatever the word is, breathing either.
Belly breathing. You can say belly breathing.
Well, yeah, belly breathing. Thank you. So what I've done is that I spent loads of time studying in front of my PC, and loads of time I need to get up and do some work and then come back to studying. So I put a piece of paper on my chair that says, okay, 3 times breathing. And every time before I start something, 3 times consciously. And then I put a note, and I spent lots of time in the washroom as well. So right in front of me, there is a note that reminds me of, belly breathing. And same thing as well when I'm in the kitchen. So I put a few notes again on the walls. So if I'm cooking something, I try to do belly breathing, not to forget. Yeah.
Nice. Excellent. Yeah, just finding something that fits your life that helps remind you to do that. Yeah. Other examples?
No, I remind myself to stay relaxed, and that's all I need to do to breathe with my belly. Stay relaxed, completely relaxed, and it happens by default. Because when I am a bit stressed and I feel tension in my body, I begin breathing using my chest, and it's not correct. I don't feel fine. And so my mind, I remind myself, relax, relax, and enjoy. That's all.
Yes.
As the other swimmer told, she put some notice
Yes.
in the room, yeah. Or also relax, and it happens naturally.
I mean, our bodies should know what to do, right? When it's supposed to relax, it should know what relax mode
but
is.
I always talk with myself, always.
Werner brought up, he sent an email afterwards, after one of our discussions, and he was noticing that consciously interfering with breathing can actually cause problems for breathing. I mean, trying to think through something too much, we understand that you can certain things we can consciously interfere with. They're not completely automatic in our lives. And so, yeah, there's two sides to that, two edges to that knife. You know, one is you can cut in a good direction, you can influence things in a good direction, but you can also interfere. And that's really kind of where the argument comes from, that our breathing has been messed up because we've either consciously or unconsciously had influences that have acted upon the natural programs that would actually be serving us well. These reprogramming has happened and is moving us away from appropriate responses. But also think about it, our modern life, I mean, if we take the evolutionary viewpoint, the storyline as how we are where we're at today, that our body and our body systems, our response systems are designed for responding to dangers, fight or flight, to go chase the animal, to hunt it, or we need to run away from the creatures or the opposing tribe in order to survive. So these are breathing changes to enable us to take those kind of actions. So we feel stress. The ancient human felt stress appropriate to the situation, the lion or the enemy tribe or the mammoth that they had to go hunt. But modern people, we are sitting in an office and there's somebody down the hall that's irritating us, and or we feel threatened by a power position, or we might lose our job. There's no mammoth, there's no tigers, there's nothing to run from, and there's nothing to stab with a spear, but yet sometimes we feel like we want to stab with a spear. So we still have the same ancient responses, but to abstract dangers or opportunities. And so our bodies are primed for physical response, but our world that we live in isn't looking for a physical response. It's looking for a cognitive response or an emotional response. So our bodies are confused by this. And so really, going for a run or a swim when you're upset is a good thing, because it's releasing a good portion of the chemistry. It's burning up the hormonal fuel that has been released into the body that is insisting on some sort of physical response. So that's why it is good for us to be physical in a safe way. If we're frightened or we're angry or something, we got to release those chemicals. So breathing is one of those things that takes the hit. And then we find ourselves now breathing in a way that's not appropriate to our actual modern situation. It was really meant to make us turn and run or get away from the danger real quick. So that's interesting that way.
Matt?
Yes.
Just one remark, the situation in the office. I'm working in the office for 30 years and more now.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting that, of course, if somebody is entering or somebody is calling you, you receive an email, whatever, you, of course, do not react because you have fear. Not at all. This is clear. What is very important in the office, that I include me, of course, that most of the people are not sitting correctly. This means that you have a body posture which normally makes it impossible to breathe correctly. There are studies that even that at the age of 5, 6 or 8, 5 to 8 years, the little children begin to lose their original correct baby breathing. The reason is that they are even at that young age are sitting too much, and therefore you lose a lot of power and muscles in your abs. And
yes,
of course, the diaphragm is a muscle, nothing else, which separates the abs on the one hand and the heart and the lungs on the other side. And if this muscle is not firm enough, you will have problems to correctly, and you have to re-educate, and you have to train this muscle as other muscles as well, and then you will step by step able with the correct posture
Yes, what you're bringing up is excellent. You and I have talked about that before. How even just how we sit, how our modern lifestyle, it puts us into positions that are breaking good patterns, good body shaping. So this brings up, I want to recommend a great podcast to you. You can either read it, she has the transcripts, or you can listen to it. Katie Bowman, I put it over in the chat notes on our Zoom here. If you hit the chat button at the bottom, it'll pull up the chat screen on the side. And Katie Bowman is a biomechanist, so it's a person who works with bodies, but she looks at it from the viewpoint of how the body moves, its shaping and its movement patterns. She's got these great podcasts. As a matter of fact, a couple of the most recent ones are both on breathing and the shape. She has great exercises and perspective, really encouraging, very interesting perspective on looking at our body. And her website's called Nutritious Movement. So it's the idea of just like you would pursue good nutrition in your food, she's advocating for good nutrition about how you use your body in a wide variety of ways that really keep us in the full range of capabilities, strength and range of movement. And so she's talking specifically about what's happening in the inside of the body. And what's great, what I appreciate about her perspective is that she's emphasizing that we're so unique as humans that we can breathe in all sorts of positions and shapes and activities. We can be rolling on the ground or climbing a tree, or we can be bent over, we can be sitting, standing, running, walking, swimming, and our body still has a way, it can use a different arrangement to make sure that breathing still happens. And instead of seeing the different kinds of breathing as some are good and some are bad, she sees it, oh, look at how adaptable we are to so many different ways of accomplishing a basic task. And she advocates for exercising the full range of movements and breathing techniques so that they're all available to us when we would need them. So those podcasts could be really interesting. You could either read it or you could listen to her podcast, and for a great perspective on that. I spend more time now standing. Like right now I'm standing at my computer. I makeshift a little piece of plywood and some boxes so I can stand up, or I can immediately pick up my computer and I can move it on a little table down, and I can sit down. But I have a Pilates ball, a big exercise ball that I sit on there. And sure enough, yesterday, for some reason, I took my computer and I sat down at the kitchen table, and I was sitting there for maybe a half an hour. And now my back my lower back is hurting just a little bit because I sit in a chair. I don't sit well in a chair. For the Pilates ball, I have zero back problems when I sit on the Pilates ball, and I can do it for hours now. I'm strong enough now that I can sit on the Pilates ball for hours and be okay, except my butt gets a little tired, but my back doesn't hurt. But then it changes the posture of the torso, and it keeps my whole body in a better position for breathing and then all the benefits that the breathing brings. So I like how you brought that up, Lutz, is just the sitting in an office chair for decades. That's going to have an effect. Elizabeth, I'm curious, you being a teacher, what's your lifestyle like as a teacher? Are you I know now you're at home teaching, but let's say back in the classroom, what was your life like? Were you sitting a lot? Were you standing a lot? Were you able to change your... There you go.
When life was normal, I spent too much time at my desk in my office because of a lot of administrative duties. But, there was the chance to get up and walk to class, and it was in a different part of the building. And so it was a nice walk, and going down to the photocopier and all kinds of things. But yes, that incredible damage that happens to our shoulders, our necks, and sure, even if I tried to be conscious, it was it's almost a hazard. I think it is a hazard. It's a health hazard of working the way we work. Yeah.
What was it like? Maybe 2 decades ago, they started talking about ergonomics, like office ergonomics, and like helping you have a better chair and keyboards, right, that were shaped for your wrists. and the screen brought up, but nobody removed the chair. The centerpiece of the dysfunction was not even addressed. They reshaped the chair, but they didn't remove the chair.
Yeah. Do you find, Matt, or anybody else who uses a standing desk, does it really work to stand?
Does anybody else use a standing desk here?
I did till I retired for the last years, and I had one of those little things you stick under your butt. It's like a tripod.
Yeah.
It was most of the time I was up, and that really it did help.
Like a stool, like a high stool, little tripod. Is that what it was?
Yeah, it's like a stool. It's like basically a seat, like on a pogo stick.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
You kind of, but yeah, I found it very comfortable, and it really helped me a lot.
I tried it for a while. I work mostly from home if I'm not in the pool with somebody. But I found if I was standing, I was much more apt to walk away from my desk. Like I couldn't focus and stay there. I was like, oh, here I'm going to work. Oh, I'll go get this. Oh, I'll go over here and do that. And staying in one spot was a lot harder when I was standing. So I actually switched to a floor desk. I got some piece of furniture from IKEA and some L bars, and so I have my keyboard down at the ergonomic height and 2 monitors up kind of high, so that's why I look like I'm low on the ground. It took me a while to find something to suit my bottom, but I got a stadium chair. So people who go to those chronic football games or watching their kids at baseball, they get these cushioned seats with backs on them. So I have it on the ground, and I switch between crisscrossing my legs or keeping them out, but I can still sit up straight on the floor. I just found that it felt better for my pelvis and my legs and my knees, and I live on the floor as it is now. And then the act of having to get up and down, because I'm still just as distracted, but it takes a little bit more effort to climb out of my chair and get up and go do something around the house.
And you're more accessible to your cats too down there.
Yeah, well, there's one right now who's bapping at me, trying to get my attention. Yes, they love it too. I can put a heating blanket underneath here when it gets cold, and they curl up underneath my desk on top of me. So that's nice. But yeah, I think having a standing desk is nice, but it's the pros and cons of which environment you're in. And
yeah,
I often wondered if I found myself back in a cubicle, would my boss let me like hack off the legs and drop the table, and then I could, put my little shoes off and sit down on the floor when I came into work. Because I enjoy it down here. And then if I get uncomfortable, what I end up doing, if, my shoulder's hurting or my hip is hurting or something, I just roll out of my chair, and then I just start doing stretches on the floor, and then I can roll back into my chair.
The benefits of working at home.
Yes.
We can act any way we want. So.
I got 14 years ago for my birthday, as per my wish, a kind of wobbly Pilates ball cushion.
Yeah.
And I have that just where I sit all the time in the office, and that always keeps me moving. And
is it like a balance board?
So it's
small and it wobbles under your
a wobbly cushion like that. I can show you later. It's like a 12-inch record or so.
Okay.
You just sit on it, but it always keeps you moving. So and that's
that sounds interesting.
Keeps into action, and you can still change your position. And when I went to a meditation week, where we were sitting and meditating on 11 hours a day or so, I was most worried aside others that I will have severe back problems.
Yeah.
But I didn't at all.
Okay.
And that's probably because the way I'm sitting, and probably also because of the swimming and the core muscle.
Yeah.
I was very surprised by that.
Is it similar to one of these, like these balance boards that you could use on standing on? Because I have one of these, and I put this under my feet while I'm standing sometimes, and I can stand on 1 foot or 2 feet, and I can just change the position of my ankles, and it changes the way my muscles. These cost about $20 less than $20 on Amazon. You can get one, something like this.
You see, it's airy.
Ah, okay. Oh, Claudia has one there, and you have. Oh, she has one too. Oh, I see what it is.
Yeah, Sissel. So
Specific.
I have it for 14 years. I won't let it go. So it's really good
Is it
investment.
filled with gel, or is it foam, or is it air?
It's just it's air. There's even a plug here that can put in an additional air if it needs. Actually, I could even take it for travel if I find a way to let out the air.
Okay. Oh, it's travel worthy too. Very cool.
What would you call it, Holger or Claudia?
I write in the chat, it says Zissel. What's the company? I guess you will find it.
I'll look that up.
That's what it says.
So I think with sitting with good posture, it doesn't come, we're meant to be in that position or standing with good posture, but we've lost strength to maintain that kind of posture. So if we try to do an adjustment of any sort, I'm sure many of you have tried some sort of adjustment, whether it's through Pilates or some other training program. Initially, even though we're moving in a healthy direction, we're not strong enough to maintain that better posture at first. So it does take some time to adapt. And so if we can include different things into our daily life that keep urging us in the positive direction, we're going to get more micro exercise experiences throughout the day. And our body's going to continually be provoked to move in that positive direction. So I think when I first, like I mentioned, first started sitting on a Pilates ball, I could maybe do it for an hour or so, and then I would notice I'd get a little tired in my middle back. But now I'm strong enough, and it just feels quite comfortable to sit there for several hours. Although I wouldn't prefer to sit there for several hours, I can if I need to. But standing the same way, I think Elizabeth, you asked, standing. When I was younger, I did heavy construction, and someday, I'd be out working. Occasionally, I'd have to be a flagger. We'd have things going on, and I'd have to stand in traffic in my boots, holding a sign and directing traffic. And so every once in a while, I'd stand for like a whole day standing there. And I remember just how tiring it was to just stand and move. And you try to move, and you'd step from foot to foot, and it just, it felt very uncomfortable to be stationary. So I think that's part of it. The stationary aspect is really difficult. Anything that's monotonous gets hard on the body, doesn't it? Repetitive move. That's why swimming, even though we're freestylers, you spend time freestyling, we really need variety. We need to change up the speed. We need to change up the 3 dimensions, swimming in waves, practicing different strokes. Because if you get into a rut of repetitive movement or repetitive position, our bodies can kind of freeze around that, and it actually ends up restricting us. So standing here with a balance board, that can help. Changing, either I wear house slippers. Pick that up from Turkey. I don't like to wear shoes in the house, but I wear slippers or sandals of some sort. But taking those off and being barefoot and feeling different tactile information coming into the feet, standing on one leg, and then even practicing feeling, where's my pelvis, what's the angle of my pelvis, and things like that. You can just do little things throughout the day to change it up. Of course, you can be distracted and run around chasing cats or whatever. So other thoughts or comments on that posture, on breathing, standing desks?
Well, this may sound kind of weird, but several years ago, I purchased something that's called a weighted blanket. And I think these were actually created at first for people with autism. I don't happen to have autism, but I needed a way to settle myself. And I used it quite successfully to sleep under. It's rather heavy. It sounds like it would be like chain mail or something, and it would be very uncomfortable. It's not that way, although I wouldn't want to try to swim with it on my back. Really, that would be a good way to drown. and you can get different weights and different sizes and whatnot. But it has a remarkable neurological effect on me, which then has a psychological effect. And because I live alone and because I'm extremely conservative about social distancing, I'm really in a kind of state of withdrawal from physical contact. And my little dogs are dead.
And your dogs are gone.
You know, my dogs are gone. So I had stopped using the blanket for a while. I don't know why, but anyway, for months. And so I began using it again, and it has affected my breathing remarkably. I can be kind of jazzed up after being on screen all day long and kind of yeah. And you know, the emails come in, and that's the fight or flight thing, because my reaction is to try to handle it really quickly, really efficiently, and do it. And then I'll just drive until I'm like whooped. So this might be a thing that might be helpful to people. You can still order them. They have actually tiny glass beads inside, or you can get plastic. I find the glass to be really quite lovely. So it sounds weird, but I've found it to be a good tool to help both with breathing and calm.
Yeah, you're not actually too far off from that. One of the discoveries, I don't know if you've heard of Temple Grandin. She's a woman with autism who actually was one of the forerunner of, I don't know the technical term, but animal husbandry for cattle. And when she actually got into college, things like that. But with autism, there is an aversion to human touch, but there's the nervous system still requires touch for health. And so she designed a contraption that when she would get overwhelmed or anxious or whatever was happening inside of her, she made a box that she could climb into, and she'd pull a lever and it would drop down and squeeze her. So she felt like she was being held. And you'll see this sometimes with autistic kids. You don't want to hug them, but they'll wrap them up really tight like a swaddle, and that'll help calm them down, things like that. So it kind of taps into the same need that this is a person that there's a disconnect that makes other people's contact uncomfortable, but the need for that compression on the nerves and throughout your system is still required. I read an article kind of a long time ago, so I couldn't remember what it is, but it said you needed 12 hugs to flourish and thrive, 8 to live, and anything less than that. So you think of all the people who are living alone or don't have pets or maybe don't live with people who are very affectionate, what that's doing within the nervous system, because our bodies require that, and we can mimic it through materials like weighted blankets or contraptions like Temple Grandin to feel that compression and that holding. It taps into the same needs that babies need when they swaddle, that security and that tightness that closes in and compression. So
I wonder, speaking on this, have any of you, just when we're out in the beautiful water, have you ever dove down into the deeper water and just go down there and just stay for a little bit? And just because you can feel the compression. It doesn't take much. You can just go down 2-3 meters and you feel the compression of water pressure around you. I know that it makes some people uncomfortable, but I just love it. I love the feeling going down, of course, and just being there for a little. I can't hold my breath too long, but have anybody of you experienced that or felt yourself drawn to going down in the deeper water and just being there and feeling that, what do you want to call it, the global hug of the ocean?
to some degree, but you better not have a cold.
Yeah, it can be hard.
It's gonna hurt.
No, it's oh, go ahead.
I like to stay near oxygen. I like to close to the top.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's interesting. My son, my youngest, got a weighted blanket. but he really wanted one. He tries it sometimes, but sometimes he doesn't like it. I need to go borrow it from him and see what it's like. I need to experience that. Claudia, do you have something? Wait, hold on a second. Let me unmute
That,
you.
yes.
There you are.
I felt something like that. I didn't go so deep as you, I imagine, but I went deeper, more than usual. And I felt joy. I felt joy,
Yes.
really, because that was the place where I wanted to stay. And so amazing.
Was it Unyal? You should share those links again to the two videos, the Guillerme Neri video and his partner, what's her name? Julie. Those two beautiful videos. They're deep. They're apnea divers, and he no longer does competition, but he does these underwater explorations, and the videos are mesmerizing. So maybe if you can pull those up, you could put them in the chat right here, the links to those.
With pleasure, I shall.
I'm very much drawn. I really want to take a class, some course and just working on apnea diving technique, not to do competition, of course, but to just to be able to go under. Just if I could go under for 3 or 4 minutes, that would just be wonderful. And I don't know. There's just when you're down there and you feel that pressure and your body's kind of equalizing under the pressure. It's another world. It's amazing. It's like being in outer space or something. It's just very, very cool. So I want to be able to enjoy that for a little bit longer periods of time. But I have had that. I get sometimes I get a pain underneath a tooth here. Sometimes I've asked the dentist about that. Sometimes in the sinuses too. So I also have to be careful going down. Thank you. And swimming goggles are not appropriate for diving. It's gonna pop the eyeballs out after like 4 meters or so. It's really tough. So you do need appropriate eye gear for that. I wanted to ask real quick, does anybody gone out and tried running or anything like that as part of your exercise, rescue exercising? Holger?
Tomorrow's the day, so I will also continue running.
Yeah. How do you find it, running for you?
I'm not a sportive guy, so basically swimming is the first sport I found useful for me, and I really enjoy. But I never got a runner's high or so. But what I read a bit about it before I started to make it right. Basically, how to apply and to work with the feet, and because also there I'm perfectly not having the best natural way of walking. So after reading that, I also more consciously walked, so normal speed. Yeah. And I always try to breathe over my nose, which works quite well. Surprisingly, yeah. I saw that that it would not be enough to get enough air, especially as I'm a bit challenged with my noses. But yeah, works well.
Walking
but I'm not running fast, so yeah. It's all like these anaerobic activities I'm doing.
Yes. I think walking is way underappreciated. I mean, really, that's the mode of movement we are best designed for. And, maybe all of you have enjoyed going out for a walk or something, but boy, really, in terms of longevity, if you study the blue zones or you read other texts on principles for longevity, doing Ironman and triathlon stuff, this is not the recipe for longevity. It's just being moderately active, but for vast portions of our day. Gardening, walking to the market and home, house cleaning, climbing up a tree to get the cat or playing with the children. These are all activities that are extremely health promoting for us. But trying to make up for 9 hours of sitting with 1 hour of swimming or running is it's not the best recipe for longevity, and certainly training for really high achievements is interesting and gives us satisfaction. But again, training for Ironman is not the recipe for longevity. So just getting out and walking. Obviously, Claudia has a beautiful place to go walking. You know, those of you that are stuck in the middle of cities where you have been restricted from going out, it's a real tragedy that, yeah, really difficult. You can't get out and just, you know, walk normally. Like Istanbul has, you know, these narrow streets that are just snaking all around. There's tons of traffic, unfortunately, but there's so many hills that you're going to get a major three-dimensional body workout just from walking around the city, stuff like that. Zurich has hills as well, right, Holger? You could
quite close by, yeah. So even from where I live, I would need to take the bicycle to go for a bit, and then I'm in the woods. But I heard from my mother, who is 74. She walks now in this isolation times twice a day, 1.5 hours each. So she has a good tan, and she's probably as fit as she ever was.
Yeah.
But
so
we walk a lot. Yeah, always. Yeah.
I mean, again, I also realize I need to work on this because I spend long hours doing so much computer work, administration and writing and planning and everything. I am standing here, but man, if I could just get myself every hour to just literally go out for a 5-minute walk somewhere. I mean, I'll do chores around the house, but I've got, you know, a kettlebell here and I've got a pull-up bar. So I'm just like, all right, Matt, just do something physical every hour or so that can really help. I wrote a blog. I'd been sitting on it for a couple weeks here, because it kind of was, the baby was being born, so to speak. So I wrote out this and I published it this morning. And it's just on the power of modest actions, the power of doing little things and doing them regularly, steadily, persisting at those can make dramatic changes. And I just wanted to, you don't have to read the blog or anything, but right now, but think about, with the time that we have and whatever restrictions we're under, what is something you would like to be capable of that if you just did a little thing each day, in a few weeks you would find yourself a long ways towards being able to do that thing. Like, I mean, just give you an example, like being able to do push-ups. I mean, literally, if you just started and did just 2 or 3 push-ups, did it 3 times a day, and did that 3 times a week, just 3 days. After about 2 weeks, you'd find yourself able to do 5 push-ups in a row. And you could do 3 sets of those. And then after a couple more weeks, you'd find yourself just naturally able to do, you know, 7 or 8 push-ups in a row. And it just, from just a little effort done every day or every few days on a regular schedule, our bodies respond to that kind of stimulation, whether it's strength or skill or anything. And we can find ourselves capable of something that we weren't just a couple months ago. It applies to music. That's how I learned to play guitar. You know, you buy a guitar and then you see some friends do it, and then you just sit there and you know, you practice turning your hand and strumming, and it sounds terrible for the first week, but you're just working on 3 or 4 different hand positions. And after a couple weeks, you find that you've got the strength and your fingers now kind of know what to do. And you can actually make a little bit of sound that isn't terrible. It sounds all right. And then it kind of gets you jazzed up and you want to do a little bit more. And then you learn a couple more. And then after a couple months, you find yourself able to play simple songs, and they sound, at least to yourself, they sound wonderful. And it brings such happiness, right? To all of a sudden go from, I couldn't play the guitar, I wasn't a musician, to now, hey, look, I'm a guitar player. And it felt so good to like break through and be able to do that. So I just wanted to bring that thought up to you. What's something, if you find yourself with a little extra time right now, what is something that you would like to be capable of? Strength or skill that if you just gave a little time to, steadily, you'd find yourself better. Anybody want to share a thought or an idea along those lines, or an experience that you've had?
May I?
Yes.
Yes, apart from some workouts I started years ago, which work really. Yes, thanks for your recommendations. Everything correct to point out. What I always doing push-ups or squats or whatever for me was a bit a bit boring. Therefore, I tried to find something which I could do in my house, and which brings me a bit more fun. And I looked around, and finally I decided to buy a mini trampoline.
Ah, a trampoline, really, a little one.
Yes, it's really great. You have, if you go 5 minutes or 15 minutes. At the moment, I do it during my home office work. Every hour, 5 minutes or 10 minutes, I spend on this trampoline. It's really great. First of all, it's a training for the whole body.
Yeah.
It's a bit of endurance training in the house, and you have a very short moment of weightlessness. When you change the movement and start to stop moving up, and you begin to fall down, there you are in a weightless moment. And this step by step really improves your posture.
Wow.
Therefore, apart from this, I started again to run on this trampoline. It's a very soft run training, but good for the muscles in the legs. And I do squats on it. I really like it. And I just can recommend this instrument to each and everybody. Of course, it's an investment, not very cheap if you want to have a quality trampoline.
Yeah.
But I just reordered some parts you time by time need to replace, and I only can recommend this to everybody.
Do you also do it like with shoes sometimes and then barefoot at other times to change how your feet work?
No, at the beginning, when I bought this trampoline, I got some special socks. So
socks.
You can do this, but finally I decided I prefer to do it barefoot.
Yes. Okay. And yeah, I would think that would be really good for the feet.
Yeah. Yes, I compared it as a feeling. When you do it barefoot, it's for me personally much better. It convinced me, and therefore I'm careful enough. And when I started with this, I feared that I touch with my hand, with my head, yes.
Exactly. To hit the ceiling.
yes. But
because you're tall.
You need to control a bit, and you need to not too powerfully. If you want to do full power, you have to go out in the garden and do it.
Okay.
There.
Yeah, be careful on the balcony so you don't fly over the or hit your head inside the house. There are some risks associated with the at-home trampoline. Yeah. We need to look for ways to make movement interesting to ourselves, because things that just doing push-ups or some kinds of exercise just don't fit our personality, or we need to turn it into a game of some sort, gamify it. So these are ways that we really do need to honor our personalities, but then also go out and maybe do searches on YouTube or something and look for ideas of ways people do, because we're restricted to what we can do. So look at what we have available to us, and then maybe look for ideas in order to make those more interesting to ourselves that fit our personalities. Some people like to do simple things and they can handle monotony like that, and other people need variety. And so that could be ways that we want to honor so that we have the best chance of being consistent in the activity. Because as we all know, we hear lots of recommendations. Oh, I should do this, I should do that. But we're just not going to be successful at making those into habits if they don't fit us really well, fit what excites us.
May I say, May I say something? As you mentioned, the habits. Another podcast I found it so valuable was done with James Clear with Sam Harris. It is called
Atomic Habits is his book.
Creators of Habit.
Yeah.
I think it was a beautiful, beautiful podcast, and the points that he's given us. I mean, James Clear. I made a note of them, and I've started with your RKC plank,
Okay.
Matt, because I want to be so humble. Because the guy say it should be easy to start with, so I'm writing down. I do it after my Tibetan rites. So at the moment, only 10 breaths plank.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna, it's been a week now. So I'm gonna do the push-ups and whatever is coming. Thank you, by the way, for the videos. I found
Emre is
so
doing
useful.
planks while he's listening to you.
Pardon.
Emre is doing plank right now. You inspired
him. It's not RKC plank.
Oh, you got to do it hard style.
So yeah, I think it's beautiful,
Yes.
rather than doing it for a few days and give up.
Yeah.
That's it.
I also found that I started to try to do planks with the deep breathing. What I found most useful that Matt had mentioned during our breathing conversation was, instead of counting with numbers, counting with the breaths. And so I took that over and did a yoga session with it, and doing the stretches and thinking about my breathing have always been a challenge for me. I always forget about one while doing the other. And so thinking about breathing, counting my breaths to hold the position was really interesting. I was able to hold both of them at the same time, but now I'm working out two of those things at the same time. It was a little difficult, but I found, like I said, counting with breaths, doing either that be yoga or your planks or whatever kind of physical modest activity that you're doing is a really kind of unique and beautiful way to start incorporating those two skills together.
What ties with the breathing, it ties a quality to a quantity, because now you're conscientious of how you're doing your breath, not just the number of breaths you're doing. You're not just holding plank position, but you're holding it while you're doing it a certain way. So yeah, those are good ways. Any activity we do, if we can find ways to link the quality to the quantities, we'll have a much more rich mind-body experience while we're doing it, and we'll be assured that we're doing it in a higher technical quality as well.
Even rolling out, last night I had some sore ribs, so I took those tennis balls and was rolling out my back, and it hurt. And in that process, this is a good opportunity to do that deep breathing, and I found that the stretch was a lot more in depth and helped me ease through the discomfort of the movement.
So I see here, I'm going to end the podcast soon, or webinar soon, just to respect our time here. I'm trying to do better about sticking to an hour. So it's sweet. We want to leave still wanting more. I do want to point your attention to the chat section there, because we did have several things that shared. So if you want to scan through there and take any links off of there that might be of useful to you, cut and paste, whatever. And I will be, as we have been, we've been uploading these recorded webinars to our dojo, and you all should have, I think all of you, I've registered all of you except for Giselle. All of you should have membership. So if you would like to, you can log into the dojo, and right when you log in, the login page there will be a link up there, say, to the wellness webinars. You click on that and it'll open up the forum that has all of these in order. So you're welcome to log in there and listen to any of the past ones. And now I'm also I'm burning the audio out of these so that you could also download the audio. So let's say, because I don't really watch videos very much, but I do listen to a lot of audio, because I can be doing other things. I can be driving or running or doing chores and listening. So I prefer to have audio so I can pop it in. So if you like that, you can take the audio of past ones and just put it in your favorite device and listen to that at your leisure. And then we're trying to do a job of putting also the links there of any things like this that we do come up with in the conversations. So that is there as well. And then I want to make a plug for another service that is available to you. As you know, as I think most of you know, I'm a graduate student now in applied positive psychology and coaching psychology, and I absolutely love it. It is just great. The skills, the things, it's building on what I already am and what I already do, and kind of help me go to a new level. But part of my schooling now requirement is that I need to practice doing actual personal coaching, life coaching with people in a very particular way, using the methods and the skills that we're studying in there. And I need people that would like some coaching of some sort to work with. And so I'm going to be sending out an invitation for that. And it could be you, or it could be somebody you know that might be in need of coaching. And basically what it is it's, whereas when you've come to me as a swim coach, you come to me and Matt has knowledge and understanding, and he teaches you, gives you something, shows you how to do it. But in this kind of coaching, I am not the guru. You are the guru. You are the expert on you. And what I do is I facilitate conversation with you. I create a safe and encouraging and non-judgmental atmosphere, and I guide a conversation to help you identify a goal that you need to work on, that you want to work on, or identify the pathway towards that goal, or to work on a self-improvement thing. It's you set the agenda, I help guide the conversation, and we bring you to a place of understanding or decisions that you've chosen to take on. Basically, we're drawing out from you what's already inside of you to help you go where you need to go. And so I really enjoy doing this with people. I've done it off and on over the years, but now I'm formally studying it. And if you have a small little personal project or improvement goal, or a big one, it doesn't matter. It could be on physical things, it could be on mental, it could be on relational, it could be on spiritual topics, or job or career, any of those kind of things. I would love to have an opportunity to work with you and practice my skills. The exchange that goes on, the special offer here is that I need to do this, but I also need to video some of my sessions so that my supervisor can evaluate my skills. Now, anything that was done in there, you would always have I would always ask your permission if I were to show that video to a supervisor, and you could approve whether or not that I could use that video. So you'd have complete control over whether your content would be shared with somebody. But otherwise, all the information is confidential. And yeah, then I could just practice. You could benefit, I could benefit. Everybody's happy in the end. So I'm setting up a new web page for that, and I will send out invites for that. But if you're interested in it or know somebody is, you could send me an email and I can share more information with you. And it would just be a fun way to spend time with each other as well, with another excuse. So anyways, that's my little plug. You'll be hearing more about that in the near future. So as we get ready to go for this day, can I have a little feedback? Either you could send it to me, you could leave it in the text, you could send me an email, or you could speak it out right now. In what ways have you appreciated these webinar times? And are there any topics that you would like us to potentially bring up and have people share about in the future? Anything come to mind? Nobody's obligated, that's fine.
Well, I would just say I love seeing everybody.
Yes.
It's not in a work context. We all know that we share the secret underwater world, and that's wonderful. And then there's also this wonderful connection to all of us across the globe. So I think in all kinds of levels, it's a balm.
Yes. Yeah, I am so jazzed. I come away from this time and I'm just like, I'm an introvert, and I'm walking away from this like, yes. And somehow this fills my introvert social tank. I don't know how that works, but it's working. Okay, no worries there. I love you all. I am so honored to have this time with you, and I hope to see you again. Probably in another couple weeks. So I think maybe that's kind of the pattern that might be working. So I'll set up another one, and if I'm inspired with the topic, I'll bring one up. If not, I will guide our conversations like we did this time to bring out the things that are on our hearts and minds at that moment. All right, all of you, stay well, stay in touch, and make the planet a better place in your own special way.
Bye.
Bye.